So now we can get into it.
All right, now it's work time.
Now it's like I pumped
Let's get
earlier. I did
it.
clean and presses. It is so much fun. I love swinging weight around. I don't know why.
Something. I think it quenches some primitive thirst that we have because I feel the same, and I go into beast mode at the gym. Well, I mean, not saying
Hardcore
that's
beast mode.
effect, but just I don't give a shit about anything else. I'm just there to train,
Yep. I
and I go into
love
the
it.
zone. I love it too.
I love yelling. I'm one of those. I
One of
echo.
those. Yeah,
Because I'm
good.
like, I go to fail. Like, do you do that too?
Mhm.
I can't do, okay, 3 sets of 20. I can't
Yeah,
do that.
nah.
I
I
go
mean,
all in.
yeah, me too. Sometimes it's beneficial, but most times it's to failure because that's what I'm trying to do, right? Is repair them, rip the muscle and repair it. So you only really get that effect.
And
I
it
mean, you
just
can.
feels good.
It feels good, right? And you feel
Yeah.
like accomplished and everything. So it's all sorts of everything. It's just I can't recommend it enough to
One
anyone.
day, you and I will be in a gym together and we'll go beast mode.
Fucking hey, let's do it. I need to check
Be
out the
so fun.
American gyms. Some of those gyms that like I used to watch like Dorian. I'm not Dorian Yates. He's English, but I forget their names, like Rich Piana and stuff, and the real old, dirty fucking gyms. Like, we don't have anything like that here, really.
Really?
It's all like 24-hour gyms, yeah, like,
Ugh. Yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
I go to one called
But that's the
Vasa,
job.
and it's like Midwest version of 24, although we have 24 here too. But I like it
Mm,
because it's a little cleaner and than 24, and it's smaller. So you just feel like because when I first started lifting, I was in a physique gym and it was tiny, like maybe 30 people could fit their max. And all these massive like physique dudes,
mm,
which was really inspiring
mm.
to watch so many bulges. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll try to transform from the blob that I am to that.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it was really cool. But I feel like I got spoiled because it was more of a smaller community. When I hit
Mm,
my maxes, I would not realize that people were watching because you get in the zone, right? And you're like,
mm.
I can do this, I can do this. So I was totally in the zone, and then I would hit it, and like they knew that that was my new max. That was a new PR. So like that was really cool to be like, oh, like, oh my God, you guys saw me?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, I didn't realize, anybody was watching. Who cares? But yeah, like when I deadlifted 205 for the first time, I mean, I was like, this is like, I don't even know how much more weight this is from me, at that point, because I was losing weight real quick. I think
Mm.
that was at least 40, 50 pounds heavier than I
So
was
205 is
at the
good because
time.
it's like 100, almost 100 kgs. Because we got kgs over here, right? So
Hmm, hmm. Yeah,
yeah, that's
it
really
was decent. I have little
good. Yeah.
legs, but they're strong.
Still though, yeah, I know it is. I mean, there's some say it's more beneficial the shorter you are for deadlifts, but I
I
still wouldn't
agree
take
with that
away
in
from.
squats. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still
It's a
wouldn't take
much
away that.
lesser way to
Yeah, it
go,
is.
you
It
know?
is. I mean, the advantage though, how much? I mean, yeah, it's not a big advantage. I don't know, but still wouldn't take away from the fact that you almost deadlifted 100 kgs. It's pretty fucking good.
Thank you, Josh. I
Hmm.
appreciate that. I can get there again.
Yeah,
But it's so
exactly.
much fun. It's so much fun. And I think too it's like really empowering, and it's body positivity, especially for
Hmm.
me. It's like look how powerful like this vessel is, that I got. This little meat suit.
Exactly.
Look,
You're
it does
pushing yourself to
things.
the limits. Yeah, exactly. It's so good for the every aspect of you spiritually as well. Like,
Yeah.
and a good thing as well that I use the gym for in terms of spirituality, there's a few, but one of the big ones is that the muscle mind connection, right? So really feeling and feeling the energy within the muscles and isolating them as much as you can because you're forming that connection, um, and all sorts of other things like leaving your ego at the door when you're lifting, like not worrying about how much weight you're pushing because that was always my
Mhm.
thing, but now I couldn't care less. I just go in there and lift as much as I want to, I don't care. Just so happens that it's usually more than anybody else in there, but it doesn't, like I don't mold my identity around that. Yeah. Like
Mhm.
if I was to get injured, right, and I couldn't lift that much, I'm not going to be devastated with that. I mean, of
Right.
course I wouldn't like it, but it's not part of my who I am, you know, and it used to be. So
Yep.
now it's just
Yep.
something that I do for different reasons. Yeah,
which is cool. And isn't that how, like, when your perception of yourself, your perception of this life, like as that changes, it really does impact everything, including little things like that, like going to the gym
absolutely.
and
Hmm.
how you see yourself, how you see this experience, even doing this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's really
You can
interesting.
see how everything is spiritual. Um, and the word spirituality means different things to so many different people, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's just all that there is. Like everything is spiritual because everything is energy. We might not see it that way, but it
Yeah.
is. I mean, quantum physics tells us that, and they don't even know the half of that yet. So we're in for some
Mm.
shock, I think, if they tell us about them. But it's just it blows your mind when you start thinking about that sort of stuff. And everything is spiritual. And you're right, everything changes when you start doing that work. You know, your whole life, your relationships, the people that you attract into your life experience changes. Your
Hmm.
experience of life changes. Like it's just a
Of
big
those
change.
relationships, of those friendships, of those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you start doing it, it's sort of it's hard, right? And it
Hmm.
changes the life experience and can be like a negative experience at the start. But as soon as you get through that and get through the other side, whatever that is to you, you can start really seeing that, oh my God, I was actually holding myself back here.
Hmm.
And I've just and it becomes like it, and that's one of the things too. It can become like a new crutch or a new drug that we rely on. Even spirituality is like that, like, oh, I'm only feeling good when I'm meditating, or oh, I'm only feeling good when I'm reading A Course in Miracles, or I'm only feeling
Yep.
good when I'm listening to Alan Watts, like
Right.
that can become a drug in itself.
Yep.
So it's like it is a fine dance, but
It is.
I think that sort of addiction is a lot better than something else. But even the other
True.
addictions teach us stuff.
Well, it's like it's remaining grounded, which is something that I feel with you is that you're super, super grounded. And I think for me, being an air sign, water sign, any kind of like groundedness and energy feels better, feels good. And so like I try to ground every day. I try to get my feet on bare grass, earth, whatever, and discharge any energy that needs to be discharged and replenish, right? And calibrate
Well,
with the earth.
absolutely, we're energetic
It,
beings. Hmm.
it's so important. It's so important. Um, but I think that a lot of spirituality, at least from what, and I experience this in religion too, is that you can really get up into these high things and nothing actually comes down and is embodied or integrated. It's like all these high ideals, all these things that you can just, it's just head knowledge. It's just things that you rattle off, but it's not something that actually gets rooted down in you. It's not something that actually grounds you into truth, into, like who you are, what you are, why you're even here, why you're
Hmm.
experiencing what you're experiencing. And I think it'd be really cool for us to kind of put this in with relationships because this is something that like both you and I are single, and so we've been there. We've had our own individual relationships. We've been single,
Hmm.
and I think it's really interesting being in this place where I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay to be single. I'm okay to be in partnership. I
Hmm.
have a deep desire, not gonna lie, I have a deep desire for relationship and companionship. But if
Hmm.
that doesn't happen in this life, I'm good. Like, because ultimately I believe I've already experienced this 1,000 times before,
Hmm.
right? So it's like this carnal need and this cultural norm society tells us that we have to do this in order to be whatever blank blank blank. um
Yep.
I think that pressure, that societal pressure, that cultural pressure that then labels you, if you aren't in a relationship or you haven't had a long-term relationship, or for like what I get is you were in a 5-year relationship and you guys didn't get married. And I was like, we almost got engaged and thank God we didn't, like but it's like I get that. So it's like they're already labeling me with that too of like, well, what was wrong with you that you stayed in a relationship that long and like, whatever. So it's so funny, right? Like there's so many
Yeah.
things.
there's
But I
so many
think,
things to that. Yeah, so many
but
dimensions to that because they're just projecting onto you anyway. Like, because
right.
when they're looking at you, they're going through their own experience, right? And they're like, oh, I wouldn't do that. So why would you? It's like, well,
Because I'm
doesn't look
different.
like it.
Because I'm a
Exactly.
different expression than you are, right?
Exactly. I don't
And they don't
need.
understand the dynamics of like everything that was
Exactly. Yeah.
going on, or
They
that
haven't
I'm
experienced
like,
it yet.
yeah, that even me, my personality, my makeup, why I'm loyal to, till death, even though I haven't vowed it yet. I mean, I just can't help it. It's my heart.
Hmm.
If I love, even self sacrificially, which I've
Hmm.
had to go back on the other side and
Hmm.
balance out, right?
Hmm.
But all this
Hmm.
to say, I think it's really interesting with having this experience in this life and having so much meaning in the people that we have and that the people that we live life with. And
Hmm.
I find myself valuing connections like you and I more
Hmm.
than I would even like a future partnership, or the idea of like a future partnership. I rather have connections even from Denver, Colorado in the US to New Zealand, right? It's like I still feel more satisfied with having quality people in my life than
For
just
sure.
having a relationship to have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
With someone off his
Absolutely.
hinge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever you, whatever you, whatever
Whatever
you're
the app
causing
is
it.
in your country.
Yeah. Tinder or whatever they are, Bumble and stuff we've got here. I don't know if it's the same there,
Yeah,
but
we have
I mean,
Bumble.
they're all just the same thing. They've all copied each other's algorithms and whatnot, and they want you just to spend money, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're right. Like we all have this primitive urge,
Yeah.
and almost like we need to, get apart someone and have procreate or whatever, right? Because that's part of like survival. So there's
Yeah.
that you're dealing with as well.
Your ego,
But then
right?
there's
That's part of
the
your ego.
it is, yeah. It's the root chakra. It's it's the just the fundamental lack. Like I need to have security. I need to have things, and then that's when the illusions start as we come up the chakras. Right, is when we start creating these things like, oh, if I put it out to here, someone else is going to provide me with that abundance. And that's when it can get tricky, right? Because all of a
Yep.
sudden we've created this external source of all of our happiness or all of our
Yes.
everything, really. And that's something that we picked up from, as you said, society, because there's that pressure from society, but also our parents experienced the same pressures, right? So they didn't know any better either. So they were doing what they were doing, exactly what they think we should do, and it gets projected down the family line. So sooner or later, you've got to go, hang on, I'm changing this. I'm going to stop this cycle because it's a vicious cycle that leads nowhere, right? And it's just karma. I mean, that's all it is. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as we step out into the world and we start interacting with people without sort of a clear energy system, with the illusory sort of version of ourselves, we
Mm-hmm.
create karma and we pick up our karma contracts and things like that. And a partner is always going to be the best form of karma that you will ever experience. If it's an unconscious, even if it's sort of semi-unconscious, if you sort of started waking up, but if the partner's unconscious, like look out, right? It's going to be hard yakka. But it can be the best teachers too. So
Yep.
but my theory is you only need to learn if there's something that needs like rectification or something needs to be cleansed or purged. So you can actually go through life without living lessons and experiencing lessons if you don't need them.
Right.
But yeah, the biggest thing I think is that perception that we need. I mean, like what is it in America? It's like the white picket fence. It's the 2.5 kids, right? And married at a certain age, and if you're not, you get demonized. It's not too different here, to be honest. In
Really.
New Zealand, it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
But it
Man.
is it is it is slowly changing. I think with this sort of awakening that is happening, um,
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to see that life is a little bit more. Uh, there's freedom there. You can do these things if you choose to, and stuff. It doesn't matter what this person says or what they think about me. As soon as you exit that mind matrix simulation of giving a fuck about what other people think about you, because that is a real imprisonment, right? It
Mm-hmm.
keeps you in this box of everything, because everything you do becomes you sort of look at it as, oh, I wonder what this person's going to think before I do this. Wonder how this person's going to act if I do this. Da, 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 da. And you just, this limiting thing. Whereas you can just go out and be yourself, and just, if it fucks people off, then who cares? But also worry about it later,
Yep.
rather than really just, just constricting yourself or constricting ourselves. Because I've done that, right? I'm speaking with experience. So, but yeah, with relationships, like, as you said at the start, being okay not having a relationship as well as being okay with it, that's powerful, right? Because you're in a
Yeah.
place of neutrality, and that's where all power begins. If you look around, like
Yep.
in quantum physics, science, everything, neutrality is a neutral point, and that's where power emanates from. Whether it be positive, negative, there's a central point where it's sort of the singularity, where it sort of
Mm-hmm.
begins and ends. And if you can sit in that spot, and be the observant state and really enjoy your experience, no matter what it brings, that's a place of pure power, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. It does feel empowering. It feels liberating because nothing, my happiness is not contingent on anything, on any
Exactly.
outcome, on
Mm-hmm.
any expectations, because there was years where I was suffering. Even my own grandma, since the age of, like, I think puberty, whenever she figured out that I became a woman, it was like, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? It was cute,
Mm-hmm.
like, but
Mm-hmm.
what that programming that plays in your head is like, I should be having a boyfriend because every time grandma comes over, she's asking who I'm dating, who I'm
Exactly.
with.
Yeah.
So this is my worth. And if I'm not dating anyone, and if no boys are asking me out, if no boys ask me to the dance, then, what does that say about
Mm-hmm.
me? I must not be enough. I must not be lovable. I must
See how
not
the
be
mind
pretty
takes
enough.
over? The mind just takes over and creates these illusions for us. And your
There must
grandma
be a
did
reason.
all that. Exactly.
Yep.
And
There
she didn't even
must
know
be a
she was doing
reason. Hmm.
it. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really interesting, just even that, and how many childhood, you know, stories or narratives that are kind of like programmed into us just by simple communication that was probably, I mean, I know it was harmless from my grandma. Other
Yeah,
people may not experience other communications being harmless. Maybe there was malintent, but
of
I
course.
think it's really interesting to see that play out, and how the default for me, like for me, I'm so practical. I'm like, if it's not happening, there must be a reason. So, and if it's not happening with me, then it must be me, right? Because I'm seeing everyone else out here doing this. So what is it about me?
Yeah,
But
natural.
it's just like matter of fact. And if that is the
Mm-hmm.
case, that's fine. But like we've talked before, like the victim mentality kicks in, like there's all this other stuff, like life is happening to me, not for me. Like, why is God so cruel? Like, I've even said this in meditation, like, why are you so cruel that you would give me this deep desire and longing for partnership and companionship, and yet not provide me the partner?
Mm, mm,
Like, you are a fucking cruel God
mm.
that you would
And
even, like, because I can't, I'm trying to kill this, I'm murdering it every day, doing my best to murder it, and I can't kill it. It keeps like springing back up like a spring chicken in springtime,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, like I just don't want it. I don't want it. What is your advice on that? How do you stop wanting the thing that you want?
There's a few.
I knew there would be.
One of the big ones I always come to is who's the one that wants it, right? So
Ego.
when I say that, we need to sort of discern between you being your higher self here, and infinite intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
having an experience, or are we the person, the story, the narrative, right?
Yep.
And when you can discern between the two, you can start seeing it's not a separation of sorts, but it also is in a way, because that part of us is mental activity, right? And you can't actually grab it, see it, this ego narrative we have. And everything that we want usually comes down to some form of ego wanting it, right?
Yeah.
Because the ego wants something if it thinks, I mean, you can only want something if you lack something, right?
Right.
Because infinite intelligence would just be like, well, I am everything, why would I need anything else?
Right.
So if you're wanting something, it's probably coming from ego. And the best way to find that out is just to ask that question. Ask, okay, who is it that actually wants this?
That's so
And
good.
trace it down to the root. And that might be all you need to do, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
might be as easy as I've had many experiences where I get to that, I'm like, oh fuck, how ridiculous that I even wanted that. Like I didn't even want
Mhm.
that, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
I was told that I should want that. I was told that I lack
exactly.
if I don't have that.
You can
I've seen
even
that
hear it in
modeled.
your mother's voice or your father's voice or your brother's voice if you listen hard enough. It's not even you.
Right.
It's something you've picked up from your childhood you didn't even know was there. Um,
Absolutely.
and that's usually what transfers over to when we're looking for, I mean, when I say usually, not all the time, but most of the time we are looking for aspects of, our mothers, fathers, or feminine. It really comes down to the feminine and masculine energies,
Yep.
right? So you
Yep.
can put whatever flesh suit mask over that person you want.
Right.
It's ultimately going to be that energetic template that you're looking for if you haven't healed that part of you, right?
Right.
So, for example, if you had an abusive mother, or whatever it may be, you're going to project that out. And what I mean by that, it's a very subtle projection. So it's like you project this thing just to see if this person's going to be like that, right? And you sort of put these
So
little
true.
things out there. Yep. And as soon as they do something that confirms that, fucking, I'm 3 years old again, dealing with my mother that fucking hates my guts. So, and if you can't recognize that trigger, as it's called, and see it for what it is, as a
Mhm.
trigger telling you, okay, have you grown enough here? Can you handle this situation with the conscious being that you say you are? Like, can you actually do this here?
Mhm.
And if you can, fucking fantastic. You've passed the test. But if you can't, then you're just going to repeat that fucking cycle again and again. And like I said, it doesn't matter who it is. It can be a completely different person. It can be a male as well. If you sense feminine energy within a male, same thing. Just that energetic template, the underlying subtle energy that we don't see with our eyes, but we feel it. Everybody knows that. Even the
Mhm.
most atheist people will say they know they can feel the tension in a room, right?
Yep.
So it's those kind of things. And when you can
So
start seeing that for what it is, yeah, when you can start seeing it, it's just like, oh my fucking God, like it was always there. How did I not see it before? It doesn't
mhm.
matter that you didn't see it before because now you do. But as soon as you do, you can just watch your life experience change.
So true. I know, like, for me, I've definitely seen that modeled. I've seen, like, I had an absent dad. It wasn't because he didn't
Mm.
want to be around, it's because he got
Of
into a
course,
car accident, right?
it
So
happens, right? But when we're
it
kids, we don't
happens.
understand.
But you end up attracting something like that because you want to rectify that energetically, karmically, because I
Yes.
had, this feeling around my father being absent, whatever. I'm attracting men who can't show up fully.
Yes. And
Painful.
exactly. And also, like, even if you don't, yeah, if you don't want to believe in that law of attraction in that respect, right? Because some people get caught up on that. Like, well, how
Yeah.
can I be attracting this person attracting that? Have they attracted me? What's going on? It doesn't matter. Just realize that when we say, or when I say at least, when I'm attracting something into my life, it's just the situation that I'm bringing down over it. Like, am I attracting the person in? I don't know. Maybe. Does it really matter? No, right?
Right.
But the situation that I'm overlaying on top of this reality, like my dream thing, third eye, right, version of reality, with this person saying that and stuff like that, which is under my control when you get a bit better at it.
Yep.
But that's where you're attracting the situation. And you can literally put that onto any aspect of your life. It could be strangers
Yeah.
in the street. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter because you're creating. It's all a dream for you. Like we're literally the dream character here,
Mhm.
creating this version, our own little version of reality, and just forcing it on other people, type thing.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's very powerful too. And when you learn how to use that power for good, it just becomes it is like a superpower.
Yeah. I think even too, like, I can look at those experiences, those relationships, even friendships, and I can look at it from the different lens of I understand that I was hurt in a certain
Mhm,
area of my life,
mhm,
and
mhm,
therefore, because this life is constantly giving you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to heal what
mhm.
it is, and I know you have like a thing with that, we can do air quotes heal, make whole, come into more authenticity, come into more of my higher self, which is authentic, to who you
Yes.
are. But if you have any idea of separation, idea of like, this has been, I'm wronged in this way, or I'm hurt in this way, I suffer in this way. I feel like life is just, this is part of life, is experiences, people, situations happen so that you can experience it again and you can heal, you can shift, you can
Yes.
realign, you can
Yes.
become whole, you can step into your power, into your authenticity. And there's so many things. But I see those relationships where the men couldn't fully show up, couldn't fully commit, or whatever it was. They were more in their feminine than their masculine, because I have a dad who is more in his feminine than his masculine because of the situation that he's gone through. So of course
Yeah.
I'm going to attract like kind, because this is something that's a huge wound and that I have a lot of like resentment towards God, right? About. So I'm going to get presented this over and over and over again until I heal it, till I don't
Mm.
need that lesson anymore. And that's
Yeah.
where we were talking about like dating apps. It's like, woo, it's a smorgasbord of like life lessons. And so that's
It's
where it's
literally
like,
just, yeah, exactly.
do you want to sign up for that? Or do you want to just sit in your power, sit in your authenticity, and understand that the right partner, connection, whatever, which I think they all are technically right,
Hmm.
but the less challenging, the more supportive
Yeah.
partnership,
Yeah.
connection, friendships are going to
Yeah.
come into your life naturally, because it's just part of the experience that you're welcoming in,
Hmm.
right? Part of the
Hmm.
experience that you're saying, I'm ready for this, because you're
Hmm.
sitting back and you're receiving and you're attracting, you're inviting it into your life, instead of, you know, the reverse of like, I need a relationship because society and culture says this, and my parents keep bugging me because I'm still single and not married and have no kids and I'm 35. Like, so I need this in order to make it right. And a lot of people have done that, and most of the time it
Sure.
doesn't.
I've done that before. Like I've experienced that myself, right? So, I mean, I've
Yeah.
had my unconscious period, right? Like I've been through it. I know it. I've walked through it, shadows, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and I see great benefit in all of it, right? So
Hmm.
I don't want to take that away from people. I mean, sometimes that's what they need, right, as well. But
Exactly.
if you're at a stage where in your awakening or whatever you want to call it, where you've had enough of that, you don't want any more of that, you want to learn a
Right.
different way, then start looking at things a little bit differently, right? Because we
Yes.
do the same thing over and over again, it's just going to produce the same or very similar results. And I wanted to clear up the air quotes thing is because when people say I'm healing, it's implying that I'm already sick. Like
Yeah.
you're not, you're just finding your way, like just a little bit, maybe a little bit lost. It's always
Hmm.
there, all of the powers within us. But it's just a matter of uncovering the bullshit that's stopping you from healing yourself.
I like
um
that. I like that you're like that, because we can oftentimes, me as a, shamanic, intuitive, healing,
yeah.
energy healer that I am,
Mm,
like that's part of the work that I do. A lot of
sure.
people can get stuck in that, like, I still need to heal this. I still need to heal this. I still need, and they never actually progress, because the
Mm,
idea is I lack, I suffer,
yeah.
I don't, whatever it is,
Again,
like there's
it's that
something
external
wrong with
source,
me.
right? Yep, they're
Yes.
putting their things out to an external source. Now, that's not to say that healers can't help people. Of course they can, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a good healer will let you know that this is all within you, right? I'm just showing you the way and how to do it. I've got
Yep.
a little bit of experience in different things, showing you a different perspective. I'm not here to heal you. I'm not a doctor. I'm here to help you understand that the power is within you, because it's within me. It's within you too, right? Um,
Exactly.
and it's all a mental thing. So it's about how you present that to your client or whatever it is, and say, look, the power is within you. I'm just going to show you a different way because you can
Yep.
do this yourself, right?
Yep.
That's how powerful you are. You just don't realize it yet for whatever reason. um,
I love it. I love the work I do because of that, Josh. Like, just even having someone connect with themselves, connect with all
Absolutely.
parts of themselves, they realize, oh my God, I can do this. I can do this every
Mm,
day. I can live from this place of interconnectedness, and like
yeah.
understand that is my intuition, that, and not doubting that, not doubting the
Yes.
fact that you are your higher self, which is our last episode, which y'all should check out, 108, is like, you have all of this in you. You are literally your higher self experiencing this incarnation, this perspective. And so
That's
when
right.
you realize that, you realize you have endless, unlimited resources, abilities, all of that
Absolutely.
in all
Yeah.
different kinds of expressions. It's great.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, your higher self, what is the higher self? It's our awareness, right? And where our awareness is abundant. There is no limitations to our awareness. I mean, I can sit here right now, be talking to you, and simultaneously be thinking about Jupiter, like, or aware of Jupiter, rather, not thinking. We'll get that discernment correct. Being aware that Jupiter exists and in its all its glory and abundance, right? That
Mm-hmm.
awareness is simultaneous, right? So I can
Right.
be aware of two things. It's limitless, and when you tap into that and understand how limitless it is, this other stuff becomes sort of like child's play, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, why was I so fucking worried about that?
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about relationships with romantic partners, like, and all of that, but it's relationships with friends and also co-workers and things like that, like it's the same energetic templates. I mean, have a look yourself, people that are watching, have a look when you're out in the world and just take a minute when you get triggered by someone, take a minute and see what this is reflecting back to you. What trigger is this? Is this a feminine? Is it a masculine? Okay, great. It's feminine. Go through that process and see what you see there of your mother or someone who was abusive, or someone who was not. It doesn't matter what they were towards you. There'll be something there that's created this template, and as soon as you see it, it's like a neon sign. You can't miss it anymore. It's done. The jig is up. Ego's done. They can't hide it
Mm-hmm.
anymore. It's there,
Yep.
and then you let it go, and it's gone. The only reason it would ever come back is if you wanted to learn something positive from it, right? It's no longer something that makes you, you know what it's like, anxiety, triggers, all of that stuff. You can't even
Yep.
fucking function
Yep.
sometimes. But
Yep.
once you recognize it and see the source of its power, you take the power away because you realize that you were the source, right? The whole time you were the source of all of that. And that goes a lot deeper than that as well. You can see how you can probably think of other things where you're giving the power away. So just
Mm-hmm.
remember that that's what we have. We have that power. It all comes from
Yep.
us. Even anxiety, even fear, it's all created within us. So
Mm-hmm.
you're the source. You can turn it off.
You can turn it off. You can change your experience. You can change
100%.
what you're attracted to, even,
Everything changes. Everything can change. Yeah. It's a
Yep.
dream. It's literally when we have solid objects and things we interact with, people that are come, life is happening. Yes, that's all happening. Is it a dream? Who knows, right? That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying. It's not, I don't know that. What I do know is that the creation that we make with our mind and our concepts and our perceptions, that is a dream.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when you're dreaming at night, you're creating these scenarios and they're realer than real half the time, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
creating all of these people that you're interacting with because you're literally creating those characters. Like, you're not just creating the look of them, you're creating their personalities, the way they talk, the way they're interacting with others around them. You're creating that just like you are out here. And you see someone act a certain way, it might seem like, let's have two perspectives, two separate observers. One thinks that this person is being he's being a bit rude. But person two is thinking, oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. What changed there? There's the objective person over here doing the thing. One person thinks it's rude. One person thinks it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These two people here are creating their own reality of the objective third party over here.
Mm-hmm.
And that person probably doing the same thing as well. So you can start seeing how it's
Yep.
all made up, right?
Yep.
And
I love the example you gave in our last episode, episode 108, where you said you can meet somebody and you've been told
yes,
this whole story about them. So you
yes,
come into this meeting with this person with a completely solid idea of who they are, and then you meet them and you may feel completely differently, or your experience with that person may be
mm-hmm.
completely different. What was all that energy and all that, like, oh my God, and talking and blah, 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 blah? All of that wasn't real. And all of
Exactly.
that energy spent anticipating what you
It's
were
a
going to
waste.
experience, waste.
Mm-hmm. So let's
Best
put it on
example you could
like a
ever give of
I'll
that.
use that same example in a slightly different way. So let's say that you've got an event coming up and you've got someone there who, and maybe it's some, okay, let's say it's someone you knew before, right? And maybe you dated them before, something like that. And
Yep.
you had to go to this thing, this event where you just didn't want to go, you hated it. Oh my God. And for weeks before even going to this event, you're just putting yourself through hell, right? Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm so anxious. Oh my God, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to go. So you're just sitting there going, oh my God, oh my God. And you get there and the person that was going to be there didn't even show up. And you had the best time of your life.
That happened to me
I'm
so many
sorry,
times.
right? What's that
Church.
2 weeks for?
Good
That
God.
whole 2 weeks you've been killing yourself
The
for
whole week I
nothing,
would like not be able to sleep on Saturday knowing my ex was going to be at church on Sunday.
right?
I was either going to
It's
have
an
to lead
illusion. Yeah.
worship or something. Yeah. And sometimes you
And
wouldn't
let's
even
say
show
they
up.
are there. Yeah. And let's say they do show up. I mean, can you not get to a neutral place and just see them as an object and realize that everything that you're creating is your creation? That's when it gets
Exactly.
a bit hard, like it's hard when you're faced with that because your body just goes into its natural shock, fight, flight mode, right?
Yep.
But if you can stay in your power, and I talk about this a lot on my page and with people that I work with and all of that too, like it's getting to that place where you are in your power, even when you are experiencing complete everything's coming
Mm-hmm.
at 100 miles an hour. You should be in the fucking fetal position crying, but you're able to just stand there and let the emotions come and go because they will, right? They will come and go. If we start thinking about it again and start creating this illusion again, that's when we perpetuate the emotions, and that's what creates anxiety and all sorts of stuff. Trust me,
Yes.
I've experienced, I'm not going to say suffered from
Air
severe
quotes.
anxiety. Yeah, air
Mm-hmm.
quotes, because it wasn't a suffering, it was teaching me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand that the experience is very brutal,
Yeah.
and there's different flavors of it too, and there's different intensities, and it can be debilitating for people. It was for me at stages, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I know that I was creating it, and you can get through that stuff. That's for sure. Because it's all mental activities. Just take
Mm-hmm.
control of your consciousness. Be the guardian of your awareness. Let things in that you want in, and just discard the rest. Discernment again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principle.
Same principle. I even have scripture coming up right now that I'm remembering of, like, Proverbs, so a man thinks, so is he. And that is so true on the level of, if you think that you're suffering, you're going to suffer. If you think that you're not suffering, you're not suffering. And if you think that you lack, that you're unworthy, that is going to be your experience. If you think that you're abundant and that everything you need is coming to you without any effort,
Mm-hmm.
that it's effortless, that your just abundance, prosperity is what you experience, then you're going to experience that, because you're going to begin to see, um which is another thing that we talked about in the episode, is you begin to see the things that you're aware of. Like when you buy, for me, I bought a white crossover, four-wheel drive car. Now I see white crossovers everywhere. I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
the only crossover that was going to be
Yeah.
white on the road. I thought that,
Yeah.
hey, I got the white crossover. Everyone has a blue one, red one. But as soon as I bought it, I became aware of all the other white crossover, cars that are on the road. And I'll even park and it's like one, two, three, four of the same exact, just different models,
Yeah.
parked on the same side of the street. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, like I never see this until now. But it's the same. Like if you see all of these relationships, friendships, connections that are healthy, that other people have, and you
Yes.
think that that is never going to be you, you're
Mm.
always going to be alone, you're always going to suffer in your relationships and your friendships,
That's a
then
frequency, right?
that's
You're
a
in a frequency.
frequency.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
you're at that frequency, you're going to attract that frequency, right?
Because
Like
you
you,
live
like
in that
before,
frequency.
because you live in that frequency. Exactly. So what I'm saying is where you attract it. So this is where it gets a bit, but so if you're at that frequency, you're only going to see things that what am I trying to say? Sort of promote or prove that frequency to be true, because that's
Yes.
how projection and perception works, right? We project out, we
Yes.
go, oh yeah, it's real, and then we repeat the cycle. So if you're doing that projection from a low frequency, you're going to be projecting out and looking for things at that frequency to confirm and to
Yes.
make that perception. So if you raise your frequency, then you start seeing things around you that are a higher frequency. But here's the kicker: they were always there, right? So that those cars that you're seeing, those were always there,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just because you got one now you're seeing it all the time because
Mm-hmm.
you're aware of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principle to that. It's the we've got it in our brain. I think it's the REM system,
Hmm.
which sort of acts as a filter to let information in that it thinks it's important. And who's in charge of that? It's the mind and the ego, right? And the little all that stuff. So if the ego thinks it's important or disimportant, it doesn't want to like sacrifice itself. The ego doesn't want to die, right? It's a survival mechanism. It wants to confirm stuff to make you still think that you need to do lack and all of this crap, right? It's a complex system. But once you see it, it's just like, again, it's like the white cross, right? It's like, oh fuck, it's all fucking easy, easy, mate.
Easy.
Um,
So in that way, what gets me all excited and peppy, is in what way can I think of something that I desire, that I long to experience, that I feel would benefit me, that would be supportive, like a healthy, conscious relationship.
mm-hmm,
So now I can take that from my mind. I can visualize that. I
mm-hmm,
can visualize what it would feel like in my body to be with that guy, for me, a guy, for you, a chick. So
mm-hmm.
I can feel that into my body, and I can have gratitude around that experience. Whether I've experienced it or not, my body doesn't know, right? It just knows that I'm
100%.
filling up with all this gratitude, feeling
Mm-hmm.
so blessed, feeling so
Yeah,
inspired, by
it's
this
going
love
beyond the
that's coming
senses.
into my life. What happens? I change my frequency. I start
Yes.
vibing at this level. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens is, you begin, for me, what I've noticed is, as soon as I changed my frequency, as soon as I healed my feminine energy, I started having powerful fucking men who are
Mm-hmm.
powerful in their masculine come into my life, and mostly in friendships, but I don't even care. I don't even
Yeah,
care, because I'm
it's the
like,
difference, right?
yes, like
Yeah,
crossover, 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 like
exactly.
white sedan, white sedan, it's like I'm
They
literally
always
seeing,
existed too.
they
Yeah.
always existed. You always existed. You didn't just poof,
I don't
you're
think so.
two
I
years
mean,
older than
maybe.
me. You're not younger. You
Yeah,
didn't come after me. You came before me, technically, in this
exactly.
timeline.
Yeah,
So it's like, you always
that's it.
existed. I just didn't know
Mm-hmm.
you existed. But then we
100%.
connected, and here we
Mm-hmm.
are. So
Why
it's
is that? Because
it's
you have a frequency change. Yeah, spot on.
yeah, and we
That's
vibe,
exactly it. Mm-hmm.
because we vibe, because we've
Where
done the
it's, yeah,
work. Yes.
exactly. Our
And it's
frequencies
that
match.
simple, y'all. It's that simple. Like, all you got
It
to
really
do is
is.
just heal, come into your
Mm-hmm.
power, realize who you are, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
become
Yeah.
aware of that which you want, but don't suffer from it. Don't suffer
No.
from the lack of it yet, because technically you've already experienced it just in your mind, in your body, when you fill up with gratitude and that desire, that heart space, without expectation. So that's the thing for
Mm-hmm.
me, Josh, is that
Mm-hmm.
it's without expectation. I build up this desire. Feel my heart swelling with love and gratitude for this life and this experience. And whether or not I ever actually end up in a partnership or not, I have been nourished, really, like, by this love and desire that I feel for partnership and companionship. I end up feeling so much gratitude for all the people that are in my life, whether they're a partner or a friend. And I end up actually feeling so much gratitude, and I'm experiencing it on some level. I haven't experienced it on the partnership level yet, but I'm experiencing it on the friendship level. And that so far is very, very beneficial. It's super supportive. But I'm seeing the men that I want to date coming into my life, period,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what they are. But when you release expectation, and for me, I'm a person where it's like, I want it now. I want it like 5 years ago. I want it, like, I wanted it then. And so to release expectation on timing and how it happens, what that guy
Yeah.
looks like for me, and anyway, and all my ladies out there, what he looks like, what he smells like, what he talks like, what he, feels like all of that, and in the timing and how he woos you, whatever, however that ends up happening, you gotta release expectations. You gotta release
Absolutely.
the things, you can have your desires and wants, but let the creative universe that lives within you, that you are a part of, that is made, it's made you up, let that energy design what you need,
Mm-hmm.
and what would
Exactly.
be supportive, because then it's so much more fun. It's such an adventure, however it ends up happening. And that's why you can then be satisfied, even if it doesn't look exactly like what your expectations are,
Mm-hmm.
or were,
Yeah.
it can look like a really healthy friendship with a very awesome individual, that embodies what it is that you want. And I just feel like that's where it's at. That's the magic.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Expectations, it's definitely something that just need to, well, just drop it. Like if you want, because it's not
Drop
the way
it.
creation is, right? Because
No.
creation's not going to go and look at your list of demands and then make it chisel out this perfect thing for you with everything that you asked for. I mean, that's like Santa Claus stuff, right? So when you release that expectation, also you're not setting yourself up for disappointment as well. So it's a win-win. Expectations, just drop it. Just let the universe create
Mm-hmm.
with the frequency and vibration that you're putting out. Don't get too finite on the details
Mm-mm.
because it doesn't work like that.
No, it's like
No.
potting plants, if in the spring, like you seed, your little pots, you get ready with the flowers for spring. You don't know how many flowers are going to pop out. You just know that you're planting the seeds and that the plant itself is going to come out of the soil. You know that it's going to be a purple type of flower. But you don't know how many flowers and you don't know how
Exactly.
big it's going to get. And you don't know if it's going to flourish or it's just going to be smaller. You have no idea the timing of when they bloom, the timing of how it's going to grow, right? You have no idea, but you know that this is what I'm planting. This is what I'm
Exactly.
watering. This is what I
Exactly.
want to experience, but how and when it comes, how much, whatever, right? Va va
It's up to
voom.
the universe, right?
And that's the creative trust and flow that you
Mhm.
are like, "Hey, I'm actually excited and actually this is an adventure. I get to watch what happens. How cool.
Exactly.
I get to
Yeah.
participate in it, right? But I don't it doesn't have to have 18 flowers on this little, flower pot in order for me to be satisfied and happy and content and for it to be good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it up to the universe. Try, like you said, trust in the universe, trust in your process, trust that its process.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you're not expecting anything, then if something comes along, it doesn't work out, so be it, right? Just enjoy it too. Like
Enjoy the journey.
100%, we miss it out. Like we get, and we're conditioned to do that as well. Like
Mhm.
with retirement and stuff, we're conditioned to work our lives away, slave away in a system that promotes you spend all of your money, so you never get anywhere.
Right.
And you can live your life when you're 60, and your health is not where it used to be.
That's shit,
Do it,
isn't it?
do it now. Yeah, do it now.
I'd
Live it
rather do
now.
it in my 30s.
Absolutely. Sooner the better. The sooner.
Yeah.
And when you start doing all that work within the ego and within the energy system, and clearing this lack mentalities and illusions of fear and all of the stuff, like you can do that now.
Yeah.
And it's unconditional. You don't need to, oh, when I do this, I'll be this. When I
Right.
achieve this, I'll be this. I've got all these
Mhm.
accolades, all these pieces of paper or zeros in a bank account, then I'll be happy. It's like, are you sure? You don't think you're going to get there and want more? Because that's all the ego ever does. Look
Mhm.
back in your own experience, when you've achieved things and got a certain thing, done a certain thing, have you ever been happy after that? Or was the ego just wanted more? And you can
Ego
see the
always
pattern,
wants
right?
more. Mhm.
Always.
Always.
So that's always, unfortunately, until you change it, it's always going to be that way too.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how much money. I mean, you hear about the people that are rich and famous, and they don't, well, not so much famous because they've got their own problems, but rich people that make a lot of money and then they're not still not happy, right?
Yep.
And then there's the saying, "Oh, I'd rather be rich and cry in a Ferrari or something like that." And it's just like, well, really though,
Pretty much
really.
all of them say that more money, more problems. I mean, there's a reason why
Yeah,
that phrase
the
exists
real people
because
said that,
you
Biggie and that.
actually
Yeah.
have more suffering. You experience more challenges. And if,
Absolutely. People
yeah,
want more from you, everything. Like you have people coming out of the woodwork that want things, and that creates karma in itself because if you don't give them what they want, then they're going to hold that against you. And then all of a sudden they'll be talking all this shit about you. And if you care about the matrix, it's going to affect you, right?
hmm
They start talking bad of family members and also, oh, just because we didn't give them stuff, like everyone's got their
right.
hands out. So that definitely creates all sorts of problems. But that's not to say that money is bad either. Like that's,
Money is
like
just
it's,
energy.
of course it is. And it's okay to pursue it, right? It's the
hmm
intention behind it and the expectations. And as long as you're consciously pursuing money, you've got no problems.
hmm Mhm.
rather than from the unconscious sort of victim, I need money to be certain thing, right? That social hierarchy thing that the ego works on, because the higher up that hierarchy it sees itself, as it's like a survival thing, right? If I've got
Yep.
more money, I'm going to have more access to XYZ. I'm going to have more access to like mates and things like that.
Right.
But the people that you're attracting like that, I mean, look at that Bilzerian guy, is Dan Bilzerian, I think. He's got all those women surrounding him. He's like a poker player. You might not have heard of him. It's all he does, right? And he's got all of these beautiful women around him, but they're all there for obvious reasons, right? They're all there for money. And he looks like he doesn't like a sad man. He looks quite happy on the surface, but I think he's got some shit going on, back here.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So it's just like we think we want these things, and the ego projects an illusion, and then we get to it and we realize it's an illusion because it didn't do what it was supposed to do for us,
Right.
and we're still chasing things, and it's like that carrot that's dangling our entire lives, and we get to like 80 and we go, oh fuck, I wish I had have enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Well,
It's that expectation. If I have this, then I will
mhm,
be dot dot dot. Or then I will
exactly, yeah.
have dot dot dot. Then
And
I will
because
feel dot dot dot.
exactly, it could be just as simple as changing the way you say that, right?
Mhm.
Like, I will be happy with this, but I'm also happy now, or however you want to phrase it. I will be just the same with this as I am now, because the only thing that's changing is the way I see it. The
That's how
money
I
is
killed the
like,
suffering for myself. I was like,
exactly.
I have a belief that I lack and that I am not as happy as I would be if I had said said due to my life,
Yeah.
and it's like that's actually not true.
Yeah. It's not
It's
true.
actually not true at all. That's a
Yeah.
total idea perception that has been placed on me or that I've experienced. But yeah, it's really interesting. What do you feel is the ultimate purpose of relationships for us in this life?
Um, I think this is going to be, like everybody's going to have their different perspective on this.
Mm-hmm.
My personal one, I mean, I think there's two reasons. One would be for self learning and growth, like a mirror, which they're always going to be a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you get the right one, you can really accelerate your spiritual growth in a very positive way, right?
Yeah.
Rather than going through and learning lessons, catalysts through the
Yeah.
relationship, you can actually put your spiritual powers together,
That's my
and grow
goal.
that way.
That's what I'm
And
waiting
that,
for.
yeah, right. And that could be something very powerful,
Yeah.
very explosive, and that's definitely something that I am open to. Um, Again, not pursuing though, right? Or expecting or needing,
Yep.
there's a difference.
Yep.
But I think so. I think that would be it. It would be, a conscious connection where you're both aware of things and have things to teach each other, which is part of it, right?
Yep.
And to just, yeah, really accelerate the spiritual journey together.
That's what it's all about. That's
Mm.
awesome. I
And
love
have fun,
Josh
of course,
Davies.
right?
Have
Yeah.
fun, enjoy, have pleasure.
Do
There's nothing
stuff.
wrong in having fun
Yeah,
and pleasure. Why is that wrong?
exactly.
There's nothing
It's
wrong with
not.
that.
There's nothing wrong with
Part of
enjoying the
life.
Matrix either. Have fun with it. Right?
Yeah.
It's our creation. Get in there. Make some
Yeah.
money. Buy some fast cars. Do whatever you like. But just do it from a place of, yeah,
It's
neutrality.
neutrality, and also the the universal energy is love. So I think what's different about that too is like, yeah, experience pleasure, enjoy life, pursue things, but to what end? For service to self, for service to
Hmm.
others. That's part of our
Hmm.
purpose here as third density beings, right? Is
Hmm.
that we are making the choice. This is the period of the choice. What are you going to choose? And this
Yes.
doesn't mean that every choice you make is one lane. There are times where I'm more of a service to others orientation, always have been. Grew up in a pastor's home, can't help it. We served people hand and foot. We would give organs and donate our own blood to we would drain our own bodies of blood for people. Very self-sacrificial, but there are times where I make decisions that are service to self. You know,
Mm.
like it's not
Mm.
all service to others. I'm not, I
No, no,
don't
no.
I have a halo, but it's not like, it's not like that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think that we have to just, I think that's for me where my internal check is, what is my intention in this conversation? What is my intention in this connection? What is my intention in this experience? I'm super intentional because I want to make sure, is this in alignment with what I ultimately want? My end
Mm,
goal, what I want to, the purpose that I want to serve, the meaning I want to have, the legacy I
mm,
want to leave, right? Does this align with that? And
yeah.
sometimes it's a yes and sometimes it's a no. And so based off of that, I make my decision. But I think it's always good to say, to what end does this serve? You know, is it just an experience? Do you just want to experience that experience? There's no
Mm.
judgment if that's a yes, you know?
No, there's not. And I think that's a good way to look at it, because the way I look at it as well is that I look at everything as love or as God or whatever you want to choose to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even things like, the vice, if you have vices, what we tend to do is when we do them is we beat ourselves up afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can actually just like experience it as it is, because everything is universe creator, right? Everything is a creator, everything.
Right.
So if you can see everything as creator, then you're not going to beat yourself up afterwards. So if
Right.
you make a wrong decision, or if you make a service to self decision, is what I'm
Right.
saying, is that even see that through the lens of love, and that it can still be service to others, even if you don't think it is.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, if you snap, or if you have a moment, or if you something towards someone, it could be exactly what they needed to see, right? So you just don't know that it's service to self. I mean, it's very hard to sort of like,
I know.
like,
It's
yeah,
so
it's
dualistic.
it is. And I think like it's the discussion about that. You're going into that a bit more at some stage with us, me and you, about that service to others, service to self, and the path, the choice of third density.
Yes,
Because I think it gets a bit muddled up,
it does.
and people don't quite understand it, because it's not a rule-based system. There's no rules there. It's not a religion. It's not what we're
It's
talking
not
about, right?
sin and shame and
No,
righteousness and
absolutely not.
honor.
Creator
It
doesn't
is
see polarities like we do, right? It doesn't
no.
see the dualistic nature of the universe. It doesn't see right and wrong. It sees everything as beneficial. And the
Hmm.
service to self path is beneficial. It needs to exist. Otherwise, the other one wouldn't. They both need to be there. I mean, ultimately, the service to self path the service to others path. Wait, hang on.
Yeah,
The service
service
to
to
self
self path.
path needs to become the service to others path eventually,
Yeah,
because
what, sixth
otherwise it can't
density?
progress.
Something
Sixth
like that.
density, yeah, to
Yeah.
go through to the next density, it needs to depolarize and
You
become
eventually
positive.
depolarize. Yeah. So it's
Exactly.
like I think it's what Aaron, my brother, talks about is that it's way more challenging, and Ra talks about that it's a more challenging path, more difficult
Yes.
because of the domination, control, takeover, all of that. You're constantly
Yes.
competing, right, for
You are, and you've
domination,
got to like
control, and
make it
power.
exactly a conscious effort to remain in service to self. Right. It's
Yes,
not like you can do it by mistake. You can't be service to self by
it's
mistake. It's a
very
conscious
intentional.
effort, very
Yeah.
intentional. And you can see it. And a lot of people were worried, oh, what if I've
No,
become,
no.
it's not like that. It's not like that. Most of us are the positive polarity.
Mm-hmm.
We can see that. They try and
Yeah.
tell us that we're not, but we are.
Right.
If
We
you
are.
actually interacted with people around you in real life, you'll see that
Mm-hmm.
most people are very positively oriented. There's an exception, but a lot of them are just really heavily in their ego, and they're scared at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But um, you've got to intentionally be service
Yeah.
to self, and you've got to like pursue it just like you were pursuing anything else. You've got to get up, do affirmations with it, like I'm going to be in the fucker today, I'm going to do this to this person. It's
Yeah.
not as easy as you think it is.
With that, like even using this situation with, I can't say it or else this episode will get taken down, but
Mm,
with this situation, you know what like really encouraged me was that even with people needing to take the V, and it being pushed on us to take the V, what is really cool is that a lot of people were coming from such a heart space of, I want to protect others. Even
correct.
masking, I want to protect
Correct.
others because that's
Hmm.
what we were told would protect others. And so, from that heart space, most people agreed. And that's where the snare was of domination and control, because
How they
our
got everybody.
service
Yeah.
to others hearts and intentions was used against us as a weapon in this time. So
That's an
we,
important point. Yeah, if you can see that, you can see what we're talking about, because
yeah,
that is exactly what they did. Yeah.
yes.
Well, when I say they, I
So
mean who's they, but that's what
the
happened.
elite, the people
Whatever.
that we can't mention because if we do, the episode will get
Hit
taken
me,
down.
bro. Mm,
But I think that's an important point to understand. Like, I'll do another scripture verse. How many times have I ever quoted so much scripture in an episode? But to be as wise as a serpent as innocent as a dove. I think to be so service to others oriented, but understanding the service to self path and how
mm,
cunning, how deceptive, and how grabby it can be, because it's all about
absolutely.
what you can get from people, even
Yeah.
energy, including your fear. So like that's part
Mm,
of it too, is like I don't fear the future. I don't fear a future alone. Like if we're talking about relationships, I have to cut that energy off, because that is ultimately feeding the service to self path. And I don't want to feed into that from other society, culture, the elite, whoever you want to say, this perpetuating, idea of lack because I don't have a partner. I don't want to give into that. I don't want to feed into that narrative anymore in my own life or feed
mm,
into it into others. I want to reflect that there's total peace and joy, harmony and love and deep connection and knowing within myself. And that's
yeah.
that's at the end of the day, I'm content wholly on my own.
All you're doing is putting your intentions out there, your frequency of things, and you will attract
Yep.
this if it's meant to be,
And
right?
same
And
as
be
you,
it,
like you mentioned not pursuing. And I think like that's really where I'm at as well. It's like don't need to pursue.
and as well for me, like when I say I'm not pursuing, it's not like something that I've done for my whole life, right? It's, I mean, I used to be the pursuer for sure. Like all through my 20s, I was in and out of relationships, right? Like long-ish term ones. So it's not like I can sit here and say I'm not pursuing because that's what I've always done. I've had to work to get there. Um, and it's not easy because I was always searching for many things outside of me. Validation was the big one, right? And like I was talking about those templates, I was looking for the validation and things that I never got from the feminine energy in my life growing up, right? But I wasn't looking for love because I got that in abundance from feminine energy in my childhood. I was just looking for validation and stupid little things. That's why I never fell in love, right? Because I wasn't looking for it. I already had it and experienced it, and I had it within me already, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a yeah. Right now, I'm just happy, like I'm just doing my own thing. I've done all this spiritual awakening shit. And now I'm doing the integration and making it part of my life experience, like really doing the every day. Life is our teacher, right? It's our greatest teacher. If you can just stop and just take stock during your hardest moments throughout your life, you're going to see how much power you have, and your life experience just gets, I don't use the word better a lot, but it just becomes more enjoyable, or I don't know, just
Mm-hmm.
easier, all sorts of things, many
All sorts
words.
of things. Yeah. So good.